The president of Korea announced the end of the world after a zombie-inducing asteroid struck Japan, turning people into bloodthirsty flesh eaters. Panic erupted everywhere, and no one knew what to do or where to run. However, one man, Sean Ho, was more than ready. He had his own safe shelter in another world and had been waiting a long time to combat the zombies. Months earlier, Sean Ho had played Sura, the most difficult virtual survival game ever made. While his friends abandoned him out of frustration, he continued playing and streaming, facing various monsters, and ultimately becoming one of the best players. Tired of his gaming life, he deleted his public streams and focused on his career as a chef, where he had even found a cute girl as a regular customer. One day, jokingly, Sean decided to chant "status window" in real life. To his astonishment, a blue screen appeared before his eyes, outlining his game stats. The only difference was a new ability called Private Portal. Upon testing this ability, he created a human-sized warp gate. His mind raced. If the game was real, then the incoming meteor was also a reality. He stumbled across an article warning of the asteroid's imminent fall, refusing to accept the alarming truth. Staring at the portal, he hesitated. With no powers, plans, or money, he contemplated whether he should enter. After some reflection, he seized the nearest ladle and poked it into the portal. Scooping some dirt, he realized that the other side wasn't a labyrinth from the game, but rather a different location on Earth. Packing his bags, he encouraged himself to enter the portal. Emerging on the other side, Sean found himself in a beautiful, remote area, far from urban life. Noticing the significant drop in temperature and the absence of phone signal, he quickly deduced he was stuck in a place difficult to reach. Using a Sharpie, he marked a tree with a 0 to avoid getting lost during his exploration. As he walked deeper into the infinite forest, fatigue began to set in. Just when he thought things might get interesting, a creature emerged nearby. To his surprise, it was a stunning valley deer, not a flesh-eating monster, and the system identified it for him, confirming that this realm was indeed separate from Earth. The creature stared at Sean before dashing away silently, not that he expected it to talk. Even he found it odd that the deer simply left without a word. Thankfully, the deer was not aggressive, but he worried about the potential dangers of encountering bloodthirsty monkeys or boars. Interestingly, the valley deer had never existed in the Sura game, leading Sean to suspect that this realm was linked to survival and its concepts. Taking out a blade, he ventured forward, bracing himself for any surprises. Until that moment, he had denied the reality of the impending disaster threatening humanity. Just as he began to lose hope, he spotted a shining sun apple hanging on a tree. Unsure if it was safe, he bit into the mystical fruit and immediately felt a change. The system informed him of his stamina restoration, and his body shimmered with a yellow glow, resembling the effects of sun apple juice from the game. This confirmed his fears that something terrible was about to happen. Next to him, he noticed goblin droppings, which heightened his need for caution. Taking a deep breath, he attempted to bolster his morale, but the knowledge of the impending apocalypse weighed heavily on him. After experiencing the portal's effects, he returned to his original world and began brainstorming ways to prepare for the apocalypse. His first step involved reviewing all the footage from the game, conveniently stored on his personal hard drive, never expecting it would become essential. News of the asteroid's impending fall reached him, predicting destruction in Japan in 32 days alongside the onset of the apocalypse. He knew he needed to prepare, especially since the game was filled with harsh mechanics, including something called Iron Death Disease, which corroded and destroyed every piece of metal on Earth, collapsing modern society and facilitating the zombie invasion. The disease lasted an entire year, but Sean was confident that his private portal would protect him from its effects. Wrapping up his preparations, he allocated his savings to buy premium-tier survival equipment. He realized he was gearing up for a real-life Call of Duty zombie apocalypse. However, checking the forums at night left him disappointed by players who abused their newfound abilities for crime and entertainment. The following morning, he bought additional supplies for his mission, including a hunting bow, and contemplated whether he might be overthinking everything. Sean Ho began to wonder if he was getting ahead of himself and acting too hastily. Nonetheless, he believed that he could eventually earn back all his savings, even if he were mistaken. After completing his morning errands, he returned home and put up a closing sign on his shop. Lost in thought, he suddenly heard a voice. Shaheen from Bleach was inquiring about his closed shop. When she asked if he struck it big, he quickly deflected the conversation, claiming he had work to do. However, when she hesitated, flustered and unable to voice her request, she turned to leave. While Sean was curious about her question, he chose to focus on his business instead. Vowing to take things seriously from that point on, Sean declared he would ignore distractions and lock in for real. Reflecting on his gameplay style, he recognized himself as a planner, using strategies to overcome challenges. Though not a powerful combatant, he largely relied on his intellect. In Sura, stats were earned through hunting and exploration rather than simple level-ups. Now, in the other realm, he was honing his skills with a bow, guided by YouTube tutorials for practice. Posturing correctly, Sean took aim and shot. To his astonishment, the arrow hit the target, leading him to feel like the chosen one. However, the soreness in his hand reminded him that his true drawback lay in his strength. Determined to improve his physical endurance, he wrapped up his basic preparations and focused on his next steps. First, he needed to devise a plan for hunting monsters, and then build a home base to store supplies safely. Unfortunately, he had no weapons or gear at the moment, as they were still in transit. While waiting, he hunted for golden apples and marked their locations, fully aware of the importance of early preparation, which had allowed him to survive in Sura for so long. As he explored, he stumbled upon goblin droppings. Knowing that goblins typically traveled in groups, he realized that finding just one piece signaled the presence of a lone goblin. Utilizing his Inspector Promax ability, he deduced that this goblin was an outcast. Sean sensed that capturing this creature could be his key to success. Later that night, his search for the lone goblin continued, and the nearby sounds of wolves indicated he was getting closer to the valley. Finally, he spotted the goblin he was tracking, hiding behind a tree. He observed the creature and noted how closely it resembled the goblins from the game. Goblins were typically regarded as the lowest grade of monsters, armed only with spears and poisonous darts. They were infamous for mutilating and torturing their opponents, which was why Cianho had chosen a long-range weapon, a bow, as his first choice. Observing the old goblin before him, he noted that it was in poor condition and unarmed. Cianho quickly readied his bow, knowing that if he could stay calm, he would successfully defeat the creature. When he released the arrow, it pierced the goblin's arm. Although he had aimed for its head, he felt satisfied with the outcome. Taking advantage of his initial hit, Songho prepared for a second shot. However, the goblin retaliated by throwing a stone with enough force to knock the weapon from his grip. Realizing he was up against a mature and experienced foe, both he and the goblin drew their blades for close-quarters combat. Thus began the ultimate showdown. Cianho attempted to slash the goblin's side, but the agile creature dodged and landed a hard blow to his kneecap. Cianho then tackled the goblin, leveraging his weight to force it onto its back. With the upper hand, he plunged his blade deep into the creature's chest, eliciting a scream of pain as the light faded from its eyes. His first kill was successful, earning him 2 points, a feat he struggled to comprehend. As he scanned his surroundings, Cianho spotted guaca powder and vegetable oil nearby, knowing that combining these would create an ointment. Time was of the essence, as he needed to bury the goblin to prevent its body from rotting, and attracting other predators, such as the bone creeper that could emerge from decaying flesh. He noticed a pair of red trouts, and felt a rush of adrenaline as the danger loomed closer. Before he could react, an unsettling owl monster locked its gaze upon him. Immediately started cleaning and after that, some disgusting things. Packing dirt. He opened his portal. And he traveled back to his real world. He was still working his ass off. And ready to put on some water from the tap. As he took the water pipe through the portal, he cleaned the cave like a sewage worker. But his eyes noticed something different. There were some magical stones like luminous, stone and ignition stone. He grabbed the stones in his hands, saying that they were the gift for the newbie. Thinking that there might still be more and he have to mine it. The same shift to his room where he had been tired, working all day night. Having bruises on his hand. He watched the thing and gathered. He thought to make an ointment. Put the powder into the water with 5:5 ratio. And he mixed it up. And soon the system displayed that he had created healing item. Soon he applied on his bruised hand, and he felt some relief. But he was still thinking that was too much for him. He thought of the things he had did to level. He began thinking what he can do in the future. But suddenly, he noticed that there is one thing that's coming to mind. He went to his other room to check up something. He stored the information in the disk. Thinking that it's the same phenomenon occurred in the background story. Thinking that he have to find some different ways to. Standing in front of the bag of plaster of Paris. He tossed them aside through the portal. And after that, he went inside to clear up the first floor. While he was doing his work, suddenly, same ugly girl. She waved him a good afternoon with a smile. She was really excited like he was going to clap his cheeks. Bravo guy told him to wait, saying that he had some stuff to do. She said okay and told him to cut his hair once every 3 months. Bro just said yes. And he told that let's do it now. The scene shift to the parlor, where he was able to get his haircut. The girl asked why? And she began to spread the water. A boy told him that he's been working, so the hair was disturbing. The girl said that the windows must be related to the survival life. Our boy acted dumbfounded. And asked that from where she got the information as she was about to speak. Another idiot arrives with a tattoo, acting like a tough gangster. The girl asked her why he had arrived while our boy was on his nonchalant mode. He said that he was here to do some personal business. Asking her to choose the position. While everything unfolded, the guy tried to act almighty. And grabbed her arm while our boy was still watching. Remembering that he had deleted the clips from the previous stream. When the guy tried to take the control over the girl, making a daddy face. She was afraid of watching his disgusting face. And finally, our guy spoke. With a threatening look, he said to get lost. The guy who the hell he was. Guy didn't even flinch and made a serious face, telling him to get away from her. Looks like the turf gangster was now afraid. As the gangster was about to leave, girl finally took a breath. Our guy told her to exchange his numbers for saving her cheeks. As you went home, he sat on his computer, discovering some content about the Monopoly. And they were some tips. And someone has created game account with his real name. Rumors about doing something. And our guy just watched it saying, of course you are just sick of them and not mentally broken. But then why his head was clearing up. As he opened the dimensional gate, he went on some mining work. And spread the motor mixed with water to make the flour smooth. After finishing the work, he came out and let it dry. As it was already started looking on the moon. Clenching his face, he thought that responding to injustice with injustice is the only way to be a hero now. But in the end, he just needs to survive. Suddenly, he heard some noise. As it turned, he saw Bone Creeper arrived. Looks like Bony Guy was about to give him some bones. Sean Ho awoke to find himself covered in scratches. And confused about what had happened. The last thing he remembered was spotting the Bone Creeper. Just before a point-blank explosion rocked him. He realized that he had managed to escape just in time, but the blast still left him unconscious. While he survived, the impact cost him dearly, as he now bore numerous prick injuries on his right side. With what little strength he had left, he accessed the status window. The system indicated a decrease in his stats due to his condition. However, he received points for the creature's defeat. As a headache began to set in, he expended his remaining energy to open a portal. Once there, his first priority was to treat his wounds. He painfully removed the bone fragments embedded in his side, and applied ointment to stop the bleeding. After bandaging himself, exhaustion took over, and he fell unconscious. When dawn broke the following morning, he woke up, anxious about his wounds. Checking the status window, he was relieved to see he had healed. However, he couldn't shake the question of how the Bone Creeper had found him. The vast forest made it easy for creatures to emerge suddenly, which prompted him to focus on honing his perception stat to improve his detection abilities. Sean understood that increasing stats required earning points through hunting or exploration. The only way to acquire better equipment was by taking on monstrous challenges above his current level, which was daunting. He pondered a reliable method to obtain stat-boosting items, and recalled the game's backstory that preceded Earth's apocalypse. Visiting these locations could yield special items, but this was merely a theory. Still, he knew he needed to confront stronger monsters. After a few hours of research, he pinpointed 3 significant locations tied to past events: the Russian ship, the Hobgoblin, and the Jerry Mountain Orc incident. He noted that he needed to depart on the 25th to reach the Orc before anyone else. Later, as Sean sat in a cafe, he answered a late-night call from Mick Young. She inquired about his condition, clearly noticing his choice to wear a long-sleeve shirt in the summer to hide his wounds. She revealed she was actually awakened, surprising him. He feigned jealousy over her luck in obtaining such information, but assured her that it was okay if she had lied. After their meeting, he felt grateful for her trust and, feeling uplifted, expressed his interest in the survival life game he intended to study further. Upon returning home, Sean felt content in meeting someone with a good character. He browsed stores, purchasing drones and renting a car for navigation. The next day, he prepared materials for hunting orcs. He crushed and refined ignition stones, ensuring precise handling to prevent accidents. Next, he mined luminous stones, despite their blinding light, then turned them into powder. Completing his preparations, he mixed sugared gasoline and organic solvents with a hardening agent for the ignition stones. Thanks to his dimensional gate with flexible coordinates, he set up a workstation easily. After bundling his gear in the rental car, he was satisfied and set off towards Yuri Mountain to hunt the orcs. He arrived at the Yungri campground parking lot just before midnight, spending the remaining time on image training and ensuring his equipment was secure. As the hour struck, he began his full-scale search. 2 hours later, the rain worsened, creating a mist that hindered his visibility. He wondered where the orcs emerged from the earth, having already scouted the campground. Just as he dismissed the idea of a precursor phenomenon, a loud roar interrupted his thoughts. Panicking, he turned to see a dark, shadowy figure approaching. A red orc, a dangerous subspecies promising a skill drop. Kong Ho tried to stay calm, while launching a firecracker, executing his plan to attract the orc's aggression. As the orc focused on the flare, Kong Ho seized the opportunity. He aimed at the creature and opened a portal, retrieving a flashbang. The intense light would disorient the orc for about 20 seconds. With precision, he intended to incapacitate the orc, but it retaliated, swinging its axe toward him. He dodged just in time, stabbing the orc's foot, causing it to drop to its knees. Matching the orc's eye level, he shoved a flame can into its mouth, which exploded moments later. After celebrating his victory, Kong Ho was sent flying by a sudden punch from the wounded orc. Getting back on his feet, he saw the orc advancing, its upper body aflame yet still standing. Just then, his system notified him that he had leveled up to level 3, gaining 10 points. With a newfound skill, the will to survive, he stood, anxious about the drop item. A light flashed on his wrist, revealing a watch perception, a relief amidst the rain-soaked chaos. Approaching the dead orc, he felt a mix of frustration and concern. He reflected on the Jiren orc incident, knowing that letting the body remain unattended would lead to trouble. Contemplating Mikyuong's words about those awakened by the game, he realized the potential for chaos, with many awakened individuals around. Fearing that the dead orc might turn into a bone creeper, he pondered his own vulnerability to infection. Unable to make a decision, he opened a portal to think of the survivors before digging a hole to bury the orc. Exhaustion set in, but as if in response, his will to survive activated, pushing him to complete the task. He finished digging and disposed of the orc's body, grateful for the skill. After opening the portal again, he found himself in a moving car, needing time to recover before returning to normal activities. The next day, he woke up, questioning if the weather was real. He recalled he should have established a defense line by now. Unsure if the remnants of the red orc were gone, he resolved not to initiate any actions that day, deciding instead to inspect the items that had arrived that morning. Among the weapons, usable only as an Indian war club, he discovered a note stating that some of his ordered items were illegal for customs. While examining his weapons, he heard another delivery van outside. He instructed them to leave the items at his front door, but was puzzled when the door knocked instead of staying quiet. Upon opening it, he found not the delivery person but Mikong, who had come to discuss something with him. She held a bag of food and suggested they enjoy some ribaki together, reminding him that only 24 days remained until the apocalypse. The boy could hardly believe that Mikong was finally visiting his house. Nervous and blushing, he listened intently when she served food, prompting him to eat before it got cold. Once they finished, he inquired about her purpose for coming. Mikong directly addressed the topic of Sura, mentioning the critical information he had previously expressed interest in. Although the boy had hoped for a discussion about dating, as Mikong began to clean up, the boy got his computer ready and decided to confide in her about his awakening. He explained the dangers of the metal death plague and how traveling in large groups made them easy targets for zombies, emphasizing that survival perception was crucial. However, before he could elaborate further, she interrupted him with a question about Owen Hawk's intentions and Kimbaplover's backlash. The boy didn't have an answer, so he encouraged her to speculate. Mikong guessed that everyone had their reasons, which justified the hesitations. When she learned that he rejected an offer from Owen, she was curious about his rationale. She then showed her a recording that revealed the disturbing idea of kidnapping a girl. Fueling his anger, he stressed that the apocalypse would reveal people's true colors, and advised her to be cautious about whom to trust. Surprisingly, Mikong suggested they form a party together. The boy clenched his fist, unsure how to respond. He needed to reach level 10 and unlock the shop before the tutorial, and bringing her along could lead to her demise. While he nervously joked about what would happen if he turned into a zombie, she assured him she would be fine, showcasing her teleportation ability called Blink. Although he warned her to keep it secret, she expressed her trust in him, believing they could be a remarkable team if they survived. Later, as he worked on building fences around their shelter, he reflected on the ease of the task. After hammering support posts, wrapping barbed wire, and installing infrared lights, he felt accomplished, thinking he should earn a dexterity point for his efforts. After moving boxes and considering future tasks, he felt a chill in the air, reminding him that the other world would soon grow cold. He decided to build a proper gate at the cave entrance, realizing that a simple curtain wouldn't be sufficient. His to-do list continued to grow. On his way back from purchasing supplies at a woodworking shop, he encountered Hyong, an old acquaintance who appeared distressed about the impending apocalypse. The boy was surprised to learn that Hyong was aware of the situation. Hyong recounted how he initially doubted the existence of superpowers, until a friend demonstrated them. The boy falsely claimed he hadn't awakened yet, saddened by Hyong's admission that he hadn't either. Changing the topic, Hyong spoke of the bizarre UIO shootout, which the boy had missed, implying that the media was being manipulated to cover up the truth. Hyong explained how the narrative shifted to portray the shooter as a deserter, causing the area to be cordoned off. Suddenly anxious, the boy excused himself and hurried home, where he recalled that a shootout occurred right after the orc incident. Realizing the potential government involvement, he opened a file on his computer. He was shocked to find evidence, suggesting that many knew about the precursor phenomenon's timing. As he pieced together the timeline, he considered the possibility that someone had leaked information to the government beforehand, leading him to suspect the existence of a hidden force working in the shadows. Sean Ho pondered over who the person behind the recent events could be. After conducting research, he narrowed it down to 3 veteran players. After much deliberation, he decided to eliminate the creator from his list of suspects, surmising that those who orchestrated the game's reality were likely villains. He reasoned that if the villains enjoyed government backing, they wouldn't permit him to kill the orc. He sketched the faces of his prime suspects, wondering if survivor number 1 could be the familiar figure he suspected. Missing his veteran friends, he resolved to trust them for the time being, recognizing that sharing his theories wouldn't avert the impending catastrophe. 2 days later, Sean completed the construction of his door and pantry, finishing the first shelter. He installed 2 logistic trays and attempted to drill through the wall, but found the space more limited than anticipated. Although the basement waterproofing was complete, he decided to progress gradually. During Phase 2, he focused on an essential task: mapping the area with his drone. While exploring with his VR set, he discovered a snowfield to the northwest and an ocean to the south, the latter brimming with prey and devoid of monsters. Planning to set traps for fishing, he examined the valley to understand the ecosystem surrounding the shelter. Suddenly, his attention was drawn to the spot. where he had buried the owlbear, only to find its corpse missing. Surrounded by orc footsteps, he concluded that something suspicious was afoot. Measuring the distance between the valley and his shelter, he determined it was roughly 1.5 kilometers away, heightening his sense of danger. With nearby goblins in mind, he quickly brought the drone back to the shelter, unable to risk losing it. He was able to sketch a comprehensive map detailing the types of animals present in the forest. His next step involved exploring the areas personally, beginning with the closest swamp to assess potential for farming. As he ventured outside, the infrared device alerted him to the presence of goblins nearby, their imprints clear on the ground. Awareness of their proximity created an opportunity he had been anticipating. Recently heightened perception allowed him to hear even the faintest sounds clearly. After a while, he spotted several goblins without revealing himself. Positioned at a perfect ambush angle, he drew his spear and arrow, swiftly launching an attack at the head of one goblin, who fell dead immediately. The remaining goblins rallied, charging toward him, but he dispatched them as if they were mere obstacles. He killed 4 in quick succession, before facing the last 4, who surrounded him. In a moment of resourcefulness, he produced an item from his pocket that caused the goblins to drop to their knees. Seizing the opportunity, he took his knife and swiftly decapitated them. Amazed by the effectiveness of his tactics, he realized his advantage had led to a successful victory. With only 21 days remaining until the apocalypse, Sean prepared for what lay ahead. While digging, the boy suddenly felt fatigued. When his latent trait activated, restoring his energy, he realized that his skill had its worth after all. Soon after, he completed the task of burying the goblins' corpses, and turned to the loot he had collected. Among the items was guava fruit, which significantly restored his strength. He also found a considerable amount of vegetable oil, leading him to suspect a nearby harvest. Curiously, he inspected the pouch of the head goblin, and was taken aback to find a living blue toad inside. Initially puzzled by the goblin's choice to carry a live toad instead of a dead one, he soon detected a foul smell emanating from it. It dawned on him that it was a paralysis poison. Determined to raise the toad, whom he named Jodok for its cuteness and potential, he saw the opportunity to extract the poison and build up his resistance, which would facilitate hunting. His system notified him that the toad was now his property, making him ponder if this was a hidden feature of his reality. After a moment of overthinking, he opened a dimensional gate to reorganize his belongings, and ventured into the surroundings. He stumbled upon a spring he had missed during his earlier exploration. Realizing the water was safe, behind the spring he discovered a hideout and found a guava tree, along with vegetable oil buds. After harvesting the fruits and buds, he marked the trees to remember the route before heading back. At his apartment he tended to Jodok, choosing to keep the toad indoors rather than leaving it in the hideout, where it could perish. While caring for his pet, he had a significant task at hand, making ointment. He accidentally produced an excess amount and, unsure what to do with it, opted to give it to Hung instead of Mikong, another awaken who could also benefit from it. At Hung's place, the boy offered the ointment, prompting Hung to question its purpose. The boy explained it was for wounds, claiming he had merely bought too much. Hung joked about a potential marketing venture, but the boy dismissed the idea. Appreciating Hung's gratitude for the ointment and the valuable information he shared about a recent shooting incident. As they conversed, Sian-ho remarked on the unusually quiet gym, which Hung explained was due to everyone making plans after the broadcasting of critical information. They were considering establishing a base in the area, but the boy cautioned that too many people could attract danger. Despite the warning, Hung remained loyal to his members, unwilling to abandon them. Their discussion was abruptly interrupted by a scream, recognizable to Ho. He looked down from the building and saw Mikong on the ground, clearly distressed. Both boys rushed to her side, where she recounted being attacked, but could not identify her assailant. Hyung immediately rushed outside to investigate, despite the boy's pleas for him to remain cautious. Staying with Mikong, the boy urged her to activate her blink ability at the first sign of danger. Realizing the incapacitating situation had become serious, he promised to send her a self-defense kit, and implored her to be extra careful, reminding her that only 20 days remained until the impending apocalypse. In a world plagued by trolls, Sian-ho found himself grappling with the realities of the game Sura. He summarized the situation. 5 players often meant at least one was a troll. While developers addressed reports, they struggled to catch these deceptive players, who led parties into dangerous areas, resulting in devastating wipes. Trollers preyed on beginners, using kindness to exploit and steal from them, which ultimately tarnished the game's reputation. Amidst the turmoil, the Awakener communities had united after the Yudo shootout, sharing information and plotting schemes against the trolls. Cian-ho was taken aback when he discovered his teammate, Dajism, was a troller, evident from a video thumbnail, showcasing Daeju being carried by a more skilled player. Recognizing Daeju's cunning approach, Cian-ho decided to train diligently for 13 days, focusing on weapon techniques and survival skills. After extensive training, Cian-ho evaluated his options for a main weapon, one suitable for both combat against monsters and potential human threats. He rummaged through his tool bag, finding an Indian war club, a wooden slingshot, ochre clay beads, and a handmade stone axe. While he considered the slingshot for its utility, he doubted the effectiveness of the ochre clay beads. The Indian war club seemed like a promising choice against zombies, but he questioned its effectiveness against human opponents, noting the risks of being marked a murderer in survival life. After successfully demolishing a training dummy, he resolved to avoid confrontations with other players until he could improve his skills and gather resources. Just as he began contemplating his next steps, a wolf's howl startled him. Upon discovery, he found a massive wolf, lifeless yet impressive. Closer inspection revealed that the wolf was a mother, protected by its young pup. Recognizing the emotional hardship of the situation, Cian-ho decided to bury the mother wolf, recalling his childhood dog, Mongchi. As he dug a grave, he felt compelled to ensure the pup would not suffer. Once the hole was ready, he buried the mother wolf, explaining to the pup the importance of saying goodbye. He vowed to care for the little wolf, whom he named Dingo, offering it meat and promising it wouldn't go hungry. In return, he hoped Dingo could assist him with its keen sense of smell. With their bond established, the system confirmed Dingo as his companion. As 19 days loomed before the anticipated apocalypse, Cian-ho was busy training Dingo, instructing the wolf to repeat the actions he had just taught. When Cian called for a paw, Dingo placed it deliberately on his owner's hand. Following every command, the wolf ran as instructed, sat, lay down, and stayed quiet. Satisfied with Dingo's quick learning, likely due to its origin from another world, Cian reflected on its excellent scent tracking skills. He considered Dingo a bundle of luck and a blessing, expressing his affection with a kiss. However, his moment was interrupted when his phone rang. Picking up the call, he saw a message from Hyong suggesting he search for levitation online. Later, Cian found an article discussing a person labeled the first superhuman, who claimed that zombies and monsters would soon appear, bringing disaster. The article had gained significant attention, making it to rank 1. While most comments expressed skepticism, noting that the broadcast channel might be seeking ratings, Cian found it amusing to see both ignorance and outrage in the discussions. He pondered how the government would react, recalling the rallies concerning superpowers, but ultimately decided not to get involved, sensing that action would only come with the impending Hobgoblin event. Choosing not to delay, Cian informed Dingo that they would begin exploring interdimensional realms that day. Deep down, he knew thorough preparation was essential, and Dingo appeared eager for the adventure. Once they entered the portal world, Cian reflected on his choice to explore with Dingo, and gave the wolf a small pouch to sniff, ordering it to find the scent. The first reason for their exploration was to prepare for the upcoming Hobgoblin event, needing Dingo to imprint goblin scents. As Dingo successfully tracked a piece of flesh in the bushes, Cian felt a rush of pride. The second reason for their expedition involved assessing Dingo's ability to stay calm during live combat. After signaling, Dingo dashed forward with precision to hunt a rabbit, which led to praise from Cian. The third reason was to confirm the viability of hunting in the other world. Upon inspecting Dingo's prey, Cian noted the rabbit's strong claws and size. Pleased with their exploration as they continued onward, wondering about Dingo's cognitive abilities in terms of stats, Cian decided to head toward the valley for verification. A system window appeared, notifying him that Dingo's health had increased. Impressed by Dingo's growth, Cian suddenly noticed the wolf coughing, and rushed to offer water, reminding Dingo not to venture too far alone. Spotting a large green pepper, he learned it was called a bull pepper, which delighted him, encouraging Dingo with the promise of treats later. After harvesting the bull pepper, they set off for their final hunt. sitting by the edge of a stream. Dingo didn't detect any unusual scents. Cian reflected that red trout weren't monsters and wouldn't yield points or items. But he recognized the need for Dingo to gain valuable hunting experience. After successfully hunting red trout, he planned to wrap up preparations for Phase 2 before heading home. The following day, Cian was dismayed to find his entire restaurant demolished. The demolishing company manager advised him to contact them within 3 days for any repair issues. Though grateful for the early work, he felt sadness at the destruction yet understood it was necessary. As he cleaned up, Hyung appeared, noting the empty space. He had also left only minimal equipment behind and had come to check on Cian's well-being after his sudden disappearance. Hyung, angry, snapped his fingers against Cian's forehead, expressing his worry and stating he just wanted to confirm Zion was alive. As Dingo regarded Hyung coldly, their conversation turned to the wolf, with Hyung commenting on its adorableness. Cian inquired further about Hyung's presence, prompting him to reveal that he had tracked down the people responsible for the attack on Mikyung. Notably, he added that only 17 days remained until the apocalypse would arrive. Hyung informed Ziang-ho that the party organized by Kim Kail-jun, a man known for his signature hat, was targeting Mikyung. He added that the tow truck, which Cian disliked, was also involved with this party. Hyung pointed toward the mountains, noting that their hideout was near the base where redevelopment had halted. When Cian inquired how Hyung uncovered this information, Hyung explained that clues aligned. He mentioned that Han Jinong, who had recently appeared on a variety show, confirmed he had met with Cha Jun's group but left due to their unpleasant personalities. Following an incident involving Mikyung, many female members began leaving the party, claiming they received offers from other awakeners. Hyung asked for Cian's opinion, and Son suggested that unlike Mikyung, the female members had likely been deceived into joining. Hyung then revealed that their party had dwindled to just 4 members, including himself. This revelation stunned Ziang, who recalled the 20 members they had just days before. Hyung acknowledged that he was worried about Little Giant and debated whether to contact his ex-wife. While Cian listened with a straight face, he wanted to know if he was thinking correctly. He posed a hypothetical situation about the apocalypse, asking how Hyung would react if people threatened him. Before Cian could finish, Hyung insisted he would not hesitate to kill, asserting that in a lawless disaster, survival took precedence. He found it curious that Cian would ask such a question, noting it was uncharacteristic of him. Just then, a call for help rang out from Cian's cell phone. After Cian checked the map and asked Hyung to watch over Dingo, the scene shifted to Mikyung, who found herself surrounded by threatening figures. The enforcer tow truck driver, Anen, alongside Kim Zile and Ma Jong, taunted her from below as she clung to the edge of a rooftop, defiantly refusing their demands. The 3 antagonists urged her to reconsider, claiming that no one would come to her aid in the redevelopment area. While the tension escalated, Cian prepared for battle, hiding in an alley and waiting patiently. As the countdown reached 2, he struck at Kim Chol on 3, leaving the group bewildered by the sudden assault. Dressed in a helmet, Cian confronted the gang, hesitating briefly about whether to reveal his identity. Armed with an Indian war club, he launched a counterattack, successfully striking the black energy-emitting opponent. Despite the vision-blocking trait, breathing heavily, he noticed Mikyung and she warned him to be cautious. Just then Kim Shil swung a bat, damaging Cian's helmet and shocking him with the attack's power. Recognizing the significant threat posed by Kimchi's offensive trait, Cian wondered whether using the dimensional gate would be wise. As Anen prepared to launch an attack, Dingo suddenly bit his arm. Hyung emerged from the alley, cautioning the group and threatening to call for help. Reluctantly, the assailants retreated, and Hyung commented on their weak yet arrogant demeanor. Mikyung approached Cian, checking for injuries and noting the crack in his helmet. Despite her suggestion to visit a hospital, Cian insisted he was fine and proposed inviting Mikyung to join their party. After confirming her agreement, he noted he had other matters to attend to, leaving Hyung and Mikyung puzzled by his peculiar behavior. Back at his hideout, Cian focused on his preparations for the impending apocalypse. He recognized that maintaining his secret was essential, especially in light of the trust between him, Hyung, and Mikyung. He resolved to level up quickly, preparing for the coming challenges. As he installed a wood-burning stove in his hideout, he felt a sense of satisfaction knowing he was one step closer to completion. With Dingo snuggled up by the stove, Cian decided to pull an all-nighter to finish preparations. fully aware that he only had 16 days left before the apocalypse would arrive. A news anchor updated viewers on the asteroid previously observed, noting that the HSA had announced Yunjambi had entered the midpoint of the solar system. The agency was closely monitoring its trajectory, but Jupiter's gravity had caused the meteorite to split. Thomas Chandler, head of the Meteorite Observation Department, reassured the public that the two fragments, Yunjambi Alpha and Beta, posed no threat to Earth. However, Cian-ho recalled that just 5 days before the apocalypse, Yunjambi Beta fell and landed near a Russian ship in the ocean. The resulting tsunami swept the ship ashore at Gamchin port, leading to the first appearance of zombies in Korea. The news anchor continued reporting on the Wido shooting incident, revealing that President Jeong Woo-taek had not left his residence for a week. This prompted opposition party leaders to issue a joint statement calling for a hearing, with some suggesting a connection to rumors about awakeners and the impending disaster. Listening to the news, Cian-ho admitted to himself that it truly felt like the end of the world. He saw it as a relief that the media was finally addressing these matters, concluding that it would be harder for awakeners to commit crimes now. He decided to check the community's reactions on his laptop, scrolling through the comment section where he found intense opinions on the situation. Noting a comment from My Dream, a player known for helping beginners, he reminisced about their past gameplay together. My Dream had ambitions of building a bunker, and Seong-ho considered joining if his veteran friends also participated. He bookmarked the comment for future reference before closing his laptop, looking forward to building a second shelter. The next day, while standing in front of his hideout, Cian-ho marveled at the possibility of pulling 2 all-nighters in a row. Although exhausted, the completion of the exterior energized him, and he set about figuring out how to make the electricity generated by solar panels compatible with his devices. When he successfully charged his phone, he celebrated the foundation he'd built for survival. He had also collected luminous and ignition stones and discovered a new mineral called emeris, which, although currently useless, felt like a win. As evening approached, he needed to organize food supplies in the basement, but a loud noise from Dingo distracted him. Rushing outside, he found Dingo facing off against a pack of maimed wolves. Cian-ho recognized these creatures from Sura and pondered their unusual presence in the area. Observing Dingo's anger, he suspected these were the wolves that had killed his mother. Although he attempted to calm Dingo, he knew he couldn't defeat all the wolves alone. He focused on getting the alpha wolf to leave, understanding that the others would likely follow. Noticing the wolf's cautious behavior and sensitivity to scent, he remembered he had pepper spray. Determined to defend his hideout, he hatched a plan. He threw a knife at the alpha, which dodged, and lunged at him. In that moment, Cian-ho opened his portal, quickly sprayed the alpha, which lost its composure. Seizing the opportunity, he plunged his knife into the wolf's eye. The wolf pack retreated, and Cian-ho sank to the ground, narrowly escaping death. Dingo approached to comfort him, and he patted the dog's head in appreciation, promising to avenge its mother in the future. With only 15 days remaining until the apocalypse, Cian-ho felt a mix of relief and resolve. After finishing organizing the basement, Cian headed to the hardware and pharmacy store, determined to complete his minimal defense supplies. He had been awake for 68 hours and the encounter with the wolves had left him even more fatigued. Reflecting on his previous encounter, he considered how lucky he had been, realizing that if the wolves had been werewolves, he would have been in serious trouble. Aware of his own carelessness, he found himself trapped in thought, contemplating the need to expand his territory and build a proper shelter, as the drone surveys indicated. Youngjun greeted him from a distance, while Cian-ho remained lost in his thoughts, envisioning more land for farming and storage. Once he established a second line of defense, he planned to aim for Bluetooth beacons to enhance communication. When his friend called out to him, Cian-ho kept his response simple, stating he was there to buy supplies. Youngjun, humorously misinterpreting his intentions, assumed he was looking for weapons, even though they were in a hardware store. He soon revealed that a striking girl, a member of their team, was the one interested in purchasing weapons. Despite Cian-ho's efforts to dissuade the girl, she remained stubborn. When she locked eyes with him, he felt unnerved enough to call her out. The girl introduced herself as Jo Suong, affirming that she remembered him as the owner of the Taiobaki restaurant. Surprised by his shift in demeanor, she reached for her wallet and handed him a card, revealing that she was a doctor. Intrigued by her intelligence and beauty, Cian began teaching her the basics of the game. But Suong dismissed it as scientifically irrelevant. However, her keen perception led her to conclude he was an awakener as well. Though initially bummed by the accusation, Zongo acknowledged her intelligence and thanked her for the summary. Meanwhile, Hung Jun felt envious for not explaining the game thoroughly, prompting Suong to humorously note that he couldn't compare to Xian's depth of knowledge. Grateful, Suong decided to befriend Zongo, adding another capable member to their group. The next day, he returned to his room, cleaning his spear blade and eager to test it in battle. He called his loyal dog Dingo, explaining that they needed to act quickly against the intruders who threatened their hideout. Soon, Zongo and Dingo found themselves facing a pack of wolves, with an unusual absence of an alpha among them. Observing closely, Zongo noticed an owl bear viciously attacking the wolves, which presented a unique opportunity. He recognized that without their leader, the wolf pack would be disorganized and easy to pick off one by one. Seizing the moment, Zongo deployed a web trap, capturing one wolf effortlessly, which he swiftly killed with his spear. Although he felt a pang of regret for the creature, the mission was a priority. After one wolf was down, the remaining 3 wolves, now overly aggressive, pursued him. As he dodged and fought back, he effectively took down another wolf with aid from Dingo, who tackled an attacking wolf away. With his confidence rising, Xian Ho declared he would continue stabbing until all the wolves were dead. With several wolves defeated, he leveled up and unlocked additional effects for his special traits, including an invisible gate and a projection effect allowing him to hear from afar. Testing the new feature, he found he could see through his house without entering, and felt relieved that he had avoided potential threats from a hidden dungeon. Knowing that further rewards awaited him as he leveled up, he also understood the necessity of burying the wolf corpses to keep his territory secure. 2 days after the subjugation of the wolves, Xian Ho recorded his activities. First, he ventured into another world, where he used his drone to survey a radius of 1 kilometer, discovering various harmless animals. Yet there were still no signs of goblins or kobolds, no monsters at all. With newfound confidence in their safety, Xiang Ho decided it was time to expand. He took on the role of a chainsaw man, along with his version of Pochetta, clearing trees and transforming the hideout into a proper shelter. His companion, Dingo, proved invaluable, helping create a large circular boundary. To enhance security, Shan Ho constructed 2 layers of barbed wire fencing and planned to dig a moat 2 meters deeper for added protection. While working, he monitored the news through his projected portal, where the government announced an investigation into awakeners. In the real world, Xian Ho actively shopped for materials, visiting multiple hardware stores for tool sets. Afterward, he spied on Chihin's hideout, and even rented a motorcycle and a mini excavator for future use. His little blue toad, Seiho, remained an excellent support, regularly injecting small amounts of poison to build resistance, which he eventually intended to merge with a weapon of his choosing. In a surprising turn of events, Survivor 1, a player with a remarkable 4,500 hours in the game, joined a mission, leading Xiang Ho to question the government's media control as well as the president's unusual behavior. He suspected Survivor 1 might be collaborating with the president for leverage, complicating the situation. As he pondered the implications of these affiliations, Xian Ho resolved to adjust his personal strategy. Meanwhile, Mr. Four Eyes worked on a new score and VR ID, hoping for a swift response that wouldn't delay his plans. To his surprise, a reply came quickly from my dream, suggesting he had an unconventional lifestyle. Curious about the new player's legitimacy, Mr. Four Eyes initiated a VR chat with my dream, who was annoyed by the alias of the unknown player. Despite the initial ribbing, my dream acknowledged the expertise of Mr. Four Eyes. After a rapid-fire trivia round about the game, further recognizing Duckface as a veteran, the conversation took an unexpected turn when Mr. Four Eyes tried to get Survivor 1 on the call, only to be met with refusal from my dream. The dialogue shifted abruptly, with my dream hinting at imminent developments. A chill ran down Mr. Four Eyes' spine as he realized he might be in danger. My dream was potentially doxing him. Just then, a man entered the cafe, flanked by 2 security guards, demanding to lock the doors. The receptionist, confused, mentioned payment obligations, but the man was focused on finding someone. Assuming my dream was still undercover, Mr. Four Eyes felt a rising sense of urgency. He quickly retreated to the restroom, activating his dimensional gate ability. Simultaneously, the man searched the area, using his mental powers to locate Xiang Ho, but all he found were empty stalls. Until he checked the restroom. As he approached, Mr. Four Eyes sensed his presence and prepared for confrontation. Abandoning his previous hesitation, he resolved to respond with violence, ready to confront whatever awaited him. Xian Ho questioned where his opponent, Quan Kyong-jun, was hiding in secrecy. Believing him to be movement-based, he knew tracking a veteran with extensive experience would be challenging. Suddenly, Xian emerged from behind him like a ghost. But Xian was ready. As Xian lunged with a poisonous spear, it slashed Xiang's leg, quickly affecting him. Despite the poison coursing through his veins, Xiang remained in command, slamming Qiang's face into the wall and reminding him not to look back. Mockingly, he emphasized the pain the poison would cause, silencing Qiang whenever he attempted to speak. Xian gripped his blade tightly, declaring that the apocalypse and tutorial had yet to begin, and neither had the murderer system. He slashed the gun from Qiang's belt, adopting a serious tone as he warned that he wouldn't face penalties for killing him right then. Impressed by Qiang's sudden silence, he noted how the would-be hunter had become a paralyzed victim, a pathetic monster now easily farmed for information. Xian took Qiang's gun, reminding him that this was the price for attempting to capture him. Afterward, he escaped the cafe long before my dreams group arrived and returned home, eventually accessing another dimension to inspect Qiang's ID. Qiang, in his late 30s, managed a golf club and controlled 3 bunkers while being a sugar daddy to several women. Xian speculated that Qiang possessed potent abilities related to mind control, deduced from his extensive playtime in the game, noting that raw hours didn't guarantee skill improvement. Acknowledging that survival was prioritized in the game, he regarded his portal skill as a cheat for veterans, postponing further conclusions until he could confirm another veteran's abilities. As Xiang navigated the forest, he followed Dingo's lead, where the dog alerted him to a grim scene, the bodies of police officers alongside dead goblins. Maintaining his composure, he checked the officers, discovering one alive but paralyzed. Noting the absence of weapons, he speculated whether they had guns initially. The bullet holes in the goblins' corpses suggested otherwise, raising questions about the missing weapon. Xian eventually concluded that a gold goblin was responsible for the theft, igniting his desire to hunt it down. With a new plan in mind, he contacted emergency services, leaving a note detailing the exact location and instructions for burying the goblin bodies. Acknowledging public awareness of monsters, he realized that stealth was no longer an option. He was racing against time, hoping that the tiny murder machine might assist him. In a different area, a fight broke out between a goblin and a non-awakened person. The goblin dodged his swing and escaped, leaving only 3 of them behind. As they regrouped, one questioned his captain about the tactics they were using, expressing frustration about playing the role of a tanker without any abilities. The captain, skilled in psychokinesis, prepared to strike, readying some rocks to smash into the goblin. Meanwhile, the captain's sidekick asked when the rest of their party would arrive. The captain replied that their comrades had gone to Gazan Mountain but were currently unable to climb. This revelation unsettled the average Joe, who considered retreating, but the captain insisted they push on. Just as the trio of goblins closed in on them, arrows suddenly flew, smashing into the goblins' faces and buying them some time. The captain reminded his partner to keep pushing, asserting that if they could handle the monsters and capture the hobgoblin group, they would secure a significant advantage. However, as the captain lectured, he dropped his guard and was struck by a goblin's mace. With his hand injured, he could no longer control his abilities, leaving them defenseless against the surrounding goblins. Things seemed grim, until a bolt shot through one goblin's head, followed by 2 more shots that injured its allies. Confused, the party of 2 looked into the dark forest, stunned by the sudden intervention. In the next scene, Shan Ho contemplated whether stepping in had been the right move. As he realized he had gathered crucial information about the Awakeners and the ongoing situation with the goblins, Shan Ho devised a simple yet effective strategy to provoke a goblin by throwing a stone, drawing it toward a dimensional portal. Once the goblin was close enough, he intended to attack from the other side, maintaining an advantage. His plan progressed smoothly as the first injured goblin screamed, triggering internal chaos among the goblins. Shan Ho seized the opportunity, materializing from the portal to quickly dispatch them, gaining the upper hand. However, he was soon faced with a challenge as the hobgoblin charged at him, and a gold goblin attempted to flee with the loot. With no other options, Shan Ho braced himself for the impending attack. He managed to block it, but the impact sent him crashing into a tree. Despite his trembling and wounded state, he barely escaped death when the hobgoblin lunged again. Just as his health slipped, activating his critical skill, survival instinct, he made a quick choice to pursue the fleeing gold goblin instead. Thanks to a gun he obtained, Shan Ho shot the gold goblin dead, then called for the dimensional gate. With one phase of his mission complete, he now faced the furious hobgoblin. Drawing his weapon in a melee combat situation, Shan Ho engaged the creature with determination. The hobgoblin struggled against his firepower, but ultimately fell to Shan Ho's sheer tenacity, elevating him to level 6 and netting him 16 points. After the difficult encounter, he checked his newly acquired skill, called Terrain Sense, allowing him to respond more effectively to his surroundings. Aware that search parties might be approaching, Shan Ho quickly used the dimensional gate to retreat and rest in his hideout. The next day, he awoke to the sound of his loyal dog, realizing he had slept for an entire day due to his injuries. With the risks of survival instinct fresh in his mind, he resolved to use it only in dire situations and grew curious about the loot he had taken from the gold goblin before planning his next mission. Xiango laid out a collection of items on the table, revealing a number of revolvers, a dagger, and various other weapons. Among these, the Myethal knife caught his eye. It was a weapon with permanent invariance, a rare asset that would remain unaffected by the impending disease catastrophe. He pondered how the goblins could possess such a valuable item, worth 100 points in the shop. As he examined the blade closely, he noticed imperfections and recalled that goblins wielding metal weapons hinted at unusual intelligence, or potentially a sudden mutation in their civilization. Although intrigued by the theory of more intelligent goblins conducting experiments, Xian Ho deemed the idea baseless for now. Excitedly unpacking the tiny satchels, Xian Ho struck gold with a bunch of shade grapes, a fruit that enhanced night vision, a logical find given the goblin's ability to navigate the dark. Checking his status, Xian Ho felt pleased with his growth rate, which was faster than his previous experience in the game. With the essentials set, he prepared to return to the real world. Upon crossing the portal, his phone vibrated incessantly, with messages from Hyungjun, Mikyung, and Swan, invoking a sense of newfound popularity. Arriving at the fitness center, Xian Ho was met with eager greetings from his friends, who introduced him to their new party members, Lai Kong Hun and Kim Bora. Notably, another member was out shopping for camping gear at a store recently opened, much to Xian Ho's surprise at its modernity. Jim Bro mentioned a concerning news report about a doctor from Gazan Mountain warning of an impending apocalypse due to the game's implications. With all attention on Xian Ho, he was prompted to share his game knowledge, especially considering Kyung Hun's confidence despite his flawed understanding of the mechanics. Kyung Hun insisted that goblins simply provided points and that an awakened person defeating a monster would quickly level up. Xian Ho found this reasoning misguided and attempted to clarify, but was interrupted by Kyung Hun, who doubted Zongo's familiarity with the game. Bora, intrigued, inquired about zombie spores and the infection process, leading to Kyung Hun again asserting absurd claims of immunity by mere contact with awakened individuals. Frustrated by Kyung Hun's arrogance, Zongo chose to leave the fitness club, expressing his disinterest in debating with someone so misinformed. As he departed, he thought about farming points before the iron disease struck. He showed a particular interest in the camping gear store, and upon arriving home, he was pleasantly surprised to find Swan waiting outside, with a special first aid kit, containing painkillers and antibiotics. She also shared her address, which confused Zongo, but she explained it was only natural to reciprocate after getting to know him. Parting ways, Zongo pondered Swan's intentions as time passed. He spent the following hours collecting supplies and constructing a proper storage facility for his items, utilizing a mini excavator he had booked. Meanwhile, societal chaos escalated with public unrest and political debates over rising fears. The crisis prompted an emergency UN meeting regarding the U.S. president's imminent visit to Korea as the HSA detected an unprecedented threat, an asteroid heading toward Earth, signaling the onset of the zombie era. 4 days later, Zongo stood at Gamkyon Port, gazing at the serene ocean while anticipating the final precursor event known as the Russian ship event. The president made a decisive move that alarmed the forum community, as people began to realize that the situation was worsening. The possibility of internet and electricity failing loomed, leading to skepticism about various opinions. Then, an announcement urged citizens to prepare food and water for 4 days and return to their families. The military patrolled actively, demanding an immediate halt to all activities, with a promise of a proper statement by July 20th. Sean Ho observed the unfolding events and thought the government's response showed promise. He felt regret for not informing the public sooner about the impending crisis. Had he known that the government would handle things so well, he would have taken more proactive measures in the beginning. However, he reassured himself that he wasn't a hero, just an ordinary person navigating through chaos. The lockdowns had disrupted the world significantly, which is why Sean spent his time in an alternate dimension. 3 days before the apocalypse, he completed digging, albeit slowly, while accumulating cooking and farming videos for reference, as internet access would soon vanish. 2 days before, while scouting the area with his dog Dingo, he found golden apples, leading him to speculate about the land's fertility. A day before the apocalypse, he discovered 2 packs of sweet potato jellies missing from his storage. Initially suspecting Dingo, the loyal dog denied any wrongdoing, leaving Sean to juggle between teasing and seeking the truth. Realizing Dingo was not at fault, Sean checked his CCTV footage and was astonished to find a swarm of beetles entering through the doggy door, stealing the jelly and leaving a dried grape in exchange. Intrigued by their intelligence, Sean decided to lock the doggy door to keep Dingo safe from them. He knew he needed to return to his original world soon, so he opened a dimensional portal. Back in the real world, Sean gathered with his prominent friends and party members. He was relieved to see everyone safe despite the lockdown. Though an unfamiliar figure, Yuyin, joined their ranks, a charming Prince Charming and an electrical engineering student. Albeit inexperienced with the game, Sean introduced himself and aimed to discuss critical strategies and information. Jim Bro Hung Jun recounted his frantic search for his daughter during the lockdown and noticed barricades being erected near the petrochemical complex. Swan, another member, mentioned witnessing a shelter being built in a local park, while Mikyong reported high-ranking officials opposing the president's decisions, leading to their detention. Sean recognized that all this information was crucial. The president's actions and the swift lockdown indicated a calculated preparation for an impending disaster, which Sean suspected was aimed at controlling an apocalypse. He revealed July 20th as the possible day of calamity. Panicked, Yuan attempted to leave to warn his family. However, Sean sternly reminded him that personal survival outweighed familial ties in such dire circumstances, emphasizing the threat of a zombie outbreak. He presented files detailing survival strategies and urged everyone to adhere strictly to the tutorials. After the meeting, as midnight approached, Sean reflected on the impending chaos that would dismantle peace. Having prepared extensively over 32 days and leveled up, he still worried about his anonymous status potentially leading to his downfall. He watched as missiles were launched to intercept an approaching asteroid, pondering whether the apocalypse was humanity's unavoidable fate. And so, the countdown to the end truly began. Seon Ho entered the abandoned building, ensuring no one was around, to make last-minute preparations. He explained his presence there was driven by the desire to obtain a variety of weapons from a nearby ship. Despite the high likelihood of becoming a zombie, he believed that becoming a zombie now or in 5 days made little difference since he had no family ties. Seon Ho understood he could escape to another world with his companion Dingo, but that would render his human existence meaningless. As he checked the patch notes for his game, he speculated that the 10-point weapon was an ebony club, and pondered the weakened state of the zombies. He noticed elements indicating the game creator had foreseen these events. Suddenly, an emergency text warning him about a tsunami related to a precursor phenomenon interrupted his thoughts. As the water crept closer to the shoreline, he realized the city was flooding, forcing him to choose between battling monsters or zombies. Running full speed, he leaped from a building to reach his boat, aware he needed to act swiftly before government agents arrived. After anchoring the ship, he noted the advantages of being an awakener. Zombies wouldn't affect him, confirming Kyung-hun's theory. Climbing a ladder to the next phase of his plan, he encountered lurking zombies. Armed with a shield and mace, he charged at them, defeating one with ease, and marveling at how easy they went down compared to before. As he checked the hallway, he spotted more zombies trapped, and decided to clear them out, with his main objective being to find a pistol in the wheelhouse. However, a gunshot startled him. It was unexpected for anyone to survive. Rushing toward the sound, he arrived just as the unfortunate survivor had died. clutching a photo of his loved one. While saddened, he took the gun for himself and laid the man to rest, resigning himself to the tragic realities of survival. To his surprise, he spotted another player jet skiing nearby, indicating they both sought to farm points. They crossed paths, but Se-in-ho prioritized his escape with what he had gathered. The next morning, news of the game developer's disappearance surfaced, and the president initiated swift actions following confirmation of the zombies. Reflecting on the leader's mentality, Se-in-ho reached out to Lee Woobum at the countermeasure headquarters, revealing details of Doomsday's onset. His mention of gunshot wounds surprised Wub, confirming their identities. Se-in-ho urged Wub to take note of critical information, including the exact date and time, and expressed hope that the countermeasures department would succeed in the coming war. He injected a small amount of poison to hone his resistance. He then embarked on an intense workout, performing an impressive 3,001 push-ups, defying the odds of his self-imposed poison. With a work ethic that Goku could never rival, Sean-ho suited up in combat gear, looking sharp, and shared breakfast with his dog. He settled in for the presidential announcement at 9 a.m., dozing off briefly. When the hour struck, the television flickered to life. The president addressed the nation, declaring martial law and closing roads among other measures. Se-in-ho felt a wave of respect for the president's decisions. He believed no one could have orchestrated a better conclusion for the country. However, he clutched the remote, grappling with the gravity of the situation and the realization that this fate was unavoidable, something humanity would have to endure. This time, Se-in-ho was no rookie to the apocalypse. He was prepared, a veteran ready for what lay ahead. As time passed, the spores began to spread. 4 hours remained until the spores made contact. And 2 of those hours were spent in another realm, checking on his warehouse of supplies. Chaos erupted in the real world as people turned on one another, devolving into violence and despair. A hapless individual met a grisly fate when he was struck by a car, leaving those responsible seemingly unfazed. Amidst the turmoil, Seong-ho spotted flyers falling from the sky, a sign that the government still cared for its citizens. In stark contrast to his own laser-focused survivalist mindset, he crumpled the flyer, reflecting on the unrealistic standards of caring for others in an apocalypse. Returning to his preparations, he soon realized only 3 minutes remained until the spores would unleash their horror. Collecting air tanks? He speculated on whether it would be enough as the world around him crumbled. A glance at his watch prompted thoughts that perhaps he worried too much. He donned his helmet as the clock struck 1 p.m., signaling the moment the spores made contact. As Seong-ho revved his bike, he braced himself for the chaos to follow. The infection surged, turning citizens into flesh-eating corpses, their growls echoing through the streets. To his surprise, he noticed a sparse presence of zombies in the vicinity, likely due to many remaining home with their families. Taking a risk, he navigated through a clear path, considering that most infected had succumbed indoors. Eager to avoid the approaching zombies, he decided to raid a nearby store, easily shattering the glass entrance with his sledgehammer. Inside, he quickly gathered whatever supplies he could, knowing time was of the essence before the spores fully took control of the zombies. Raiding a pharmacy, he flooded his dog with medicine and realized he was moving faster than anticipated. However, upon arriving at the hardware store, he confronted a double layer of security. Anticipating difficulty, he activated his oxygen cutter, but the noise attracted a horde of zombies. A glance around confirmed his perilous situation as he realized he was cornered, facing what seemed to be imminent doom as he was called by the zombies. One of them was eager to die and roar at him. Rushing towards the horde, he chopped the zombies, clearing the wave, the system noticing that he gained some points. After we finished the clearing, he noticed another wave of zombie arriving. He thought that he couldn't be wasting his time now. He noticed the tank nearby, and quickly grabbed a shield, defending himself for the incoming attack. He was being overpowered. He struck the zombies very hard, taking them down. The zombies became more aggressive and surrounded him, but he ran from the fight, with a letter of hope in his eyes. Using a shield he dashed, watching dead zombies. He took out his oxygen cutter. After that, he reported back taking his motorcycle. As he entered the room, he noticed dead corpse inside with a bag, who hold a gun. Inside his bag, he found a lot of items with arms and emanations. Out of the building, there was a group of masters. He gazed his eyes, opening a new skill, which allowed him to see through the buildings. With the help of the vehicle, compressed the time and went past through them. As reached another building, he saw a new vehicle there, with the system indicating his level 6 and points 105. He went to the dimensional world and ate the sun apple, restoring his stamina. As he went back to his normal building again, he thought he'd have to do something else. As the other bad guys were happy about the apocalypse, hunting everyone, launching skill, which nearly struck our boy hard. Dodging attack, he prepared himself. He opened his portal. Well, bad guy was also preparing to attack him. As he stepped inside, he felt something unusual. As a boy entered the dimensional gate, he thought where he went. He searched for him, and suddenly, our boy grabbed his neck from behind, choking him down. He asked what was he doing, and if he had already clapped her cheeks. A boy replied that, yes, he had already did it, kicking him back hard on. The guy was looking at him, like he was saying him, Daddy, telling him to spare his life. But he grabbed a weapon, and attacked him. But our boy to like Luffy telling him weak and pathetic loser. He led closer to him, mocking him. He grabbed his face with his hands, and told him to say his last words. After he did his deed required 50 points. His hand was shaking from the act he just did. Another psychic appeared, watching his boss dead. Our boy warned him to get lost. But before he could run away, the monster appeared behind, taking his life in an instant. As he begged for his life, our boy watched him mercilessly.